Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. I know it has been a while and thank you for tuning in. I know it's been a little bit stressful recently because really I've only had time to actually post shorts, none of my long-term, and especially when most of my long-term content not doing too well. I typically tend to focus on what does well on my channel, but I'm back. So I would actually like to thank Caliwave for the idea for this video, and I will probably link her / ping her in the description later. This idea kind of came from a few videos I had saw where she was studying the shapes of mountains and scenery, and she showed how she does scenery. So I would actually like to kind of explain how I do scenery. You'll see on the screen in a moment a few of the pieces that I have completed that have scenes, shots, some of them traditional, some of them digital. And the way I create scenes is I map them out in a certain way, sometimes with shapes, sometimes straight into the sketch, depending on how I'm feeling. It can be hard as a beginner to actually just go straight into the sketch. So I would not recommend what I'm doing on screen now because I am a bit more experienced in creating scenery. I first started focusing on scenery a few years ago, and I actually used to love scenery art comparatively to character art. I found it was more enjoyable to actually tell a story through a scene rather than through a character, but my mindset has shifted a little bit since then. And so I think that when creating a scene, you want it to reflect the character that you are drawing. Think about the things that they would have in their room, or specifically if it's their room, think about the things that they would have in their room. If you have a mood board for them, that really helps. I don't have a mood board for any of my characters, but I have this amazing thing. It's called Animal Crossing, and I just go to a treasure island and look at stuff. And yeah, it can be helpful to go online, to Pinterest and stuff, but I don't use Pinterest for personal reasons. And also recently, it's just been flooded with AI, so you can't really tell what's real or what's fake anymore. And I personally typically will tend to just make stuff up, as I go. So that's why a lot of my scenes can look cluttered. I know some people prefer less cluttered scenes, but for me personally, I like the look of a cluttered scene, showing the different objects and collections that a character has, alongside with the art displayed on their walls, posters, prints, all that kind of stuff. If you know your characters, then it could be pretty easy like this scene was. I will say, creating a scene for a character is time consuming, so I will warn you of that. I know a lot of people, when they create art, they want it to be quick-paced, and me especially, I have started using a style that is quicker, and it's more easy to produce for content, and, but getting back on topic here, as you will see, I am creating, walls and all kinds of stuff. It can be hard to create certain spaces from certain angles. As you can see here, it is a fairly easy angle. It is what I like to call the, what do I call it? I call it either the L shape or the triangle shape. It's where you basically put a wall in the middle of the room and have two branching walls from that and create stuff on the sides. If you're a beginner, I definitely recommend that for a page. And I understand that you'll see that the L shape is a bit more like a zigzag because you have the one wall and you also have the roof going inward a bit. And I would definitely suggest for beginners looking at a lot of diagrams of shapes and how they interact. You'll notice that a lot of the stuff I use, it tends to be rounded. My style is very rounded and very colorful, so it can be hard to convey mood at times. And because of that, I would actually like to say this. Typically, when I create a character, I tend to not put them in a scene because it's easier to put them in a background with a few patterns here and there, like a lot of my shorts show. And So because of that, it's easier. But I don't think it helps get the point across about who my character is, you know? And it can be really hard to actually create sceneries that reflect. So sometimes I actually will create scenes for characters and then immediately decide not to do them. I have tried to recreate several scenes for certain characters several times, and they never work because I cannot see my character in that scene. More specifically, I cannot create them in that scene because I don't feel like it fits them. And I like to connect all of my scenes to all of my characters. And one of the rules I try my best to follow is never put the same color as what is on your character to what is on your scene. Meaning, that shade of sky blue that my character Hannah is wearing should not be used in the scene. And the reason that is because since I use such vibrant colors, all of the colors need to stand out in their own right. And I would like to take this time to also mention how I create organic stuff. So organic shapes are harder to reproduce for some people. For me, it's easy. I can look at a plant and recreate it like that, but that's because I have been doing art for several years at this point and understand the fundamentals of what creates a tree. The fundamentals of what creates a tree, regardless of your style, keep in mind, because people will draw them different depending on their style. You have a cylinder and an oval. That is the basics. That is the basics of what a tree is. You will have an oval and multiple circles, possibly, and a cylinder, always at the base. And the cylinder branches and splits into multiple cylinders, and you can add as many or as few as you want. For flowers, typically, if it is an iris, a tulip, a rose, any of them with a long stem, you will end up using triangles or a triangular shape for the leaves, or even a heart, because I know for a lot of my pieces using roses, they do have heart-shaped leaves. And I don't know, finding your style can be really hard, and I'll probably make a video of it in and of itself, because that's a whole can of worms I do not want to open right now. But creating scenery should not be hard, and also if someone is giving you grief for not being able to create a scene, I don't know, cut them off, because like no one should be giving you grief for not being able to create a scene. And also, I know that to some of you, my work may look impressive, but to me, I look at these pieces so much that now I only see the mistakes. But while I only see the mistakes, I will say, when I first created them, I was proud of a lot of what I accomplished. But I see a lot of interesting angles, like especially on the train. If you notice on the train is literally off the tracks. The wheels are not the way they should, they're not the way they need to be. And because of that, that's one of the pieces, like what you're seeing right now. I love it dearly, but anytime I see that train, I'm just like, ooh. Also, sorry if you can hear my chickens in the background. They are noisy today. And yeah, also have fun with your scenery. It doesn't have to be super literal. It could be warped. It could be however you want. And honestly, this is just my advice, or the things I've come to learn as I've, curated my style and the way I create scenery. It's not gonna work for everyone, sadly. But I think if it works for you, then that's great. I feel like there are so many different styles and so many different ways to create a scene. Not everyone's going to want to do it the same. Not every artist is going to agree on how a scene should look. And, I've heard that's one of the problems with working at Glitch, is there are constantly artists disagreeing over colors, design, scenery. It's like, whoa, we need to take a step back there. And yeah, just study the fundamentals of what it means to create a scene, because you'll notice if I mapped out a lot of what this is, you would notice a lot of cylinders, a lot of squares, triangles, abstract shapes as well, but you mainly see circles, ovals, triangles, squares, cubes, you know, all the fun stuff. And because of that, it is like, it's very easy. Like, once you're trained, it's very easy. And that's what I'm trying to tell you is, don't cut yourself short and enjoy your art, because you're the only one who can make it. All right. I'll see you guys in the next video. Like and subscribe if you want, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.